new gut, new immune system, less is more. Most of the time, baby poop does not make sense. It starts off as sticky and black, and then it might be yellow with some curds. It might have mucus and be watery. Maybe there's a little bit of blood. Maybe it's brown and pasty. And not only that, but the frequency can vary a lot. Sometimes we're waiting. So we've got all this going on, and yet I'm here to tell you that the solutions for baby constipation can be very basic. And so we want to go over those because we're working with babies, and so we want to keep things as simple as possible. New gut, new immune system, less is more. So we're not going to overcomplicate things. We're going to take small steps, and we're going to work with what makes the most sense, and that is prebiotics and probiotics. And I'm going to explain how I approach this, whether baby is breastfed or formula fed. My name is Garcia. I have a background in traditional Chinese medicine. I consult with clients all over the world, and my main focus is supporting parents through pregnancy and also working with babies, toddlers, and young children. While there is a lot of development going on during those first few years, there is a lot that we can do that is quite basic and simple, and it's surprising because it's so simple. The key is knowing what your options are. This is so critical and important because if you don't know what your options are, then you're going to take the thing that's kind of like pushed on you the most, and that can be an uncomfortable situation to be in, especially as a parent if you have this kind of gut intuition or sense that you want to try something that's a little more natural and with less side effects. And that's where I come in. I'm pretty nerdy and well-read. I also have a lot of experience in working with babies and toddlers and their parents. So first up, baby constipation. We want to know, is baby breastfed or is baby formula fed? If baby is breastfed, I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. And here's why. Breast milk has HMOs. These are a prebiotic. So the prebiotic for baby is already built into breast milk. It also contains probiotics, but sometimes the probiotics that baby inherits from parent or from their environment aren't ideal. Now, if antibiotics were ever in the picture of your baby's birth or during pregnancy, you can expect there's maybe a little dysbiosis or there's been some influence that is less than ideal for your baby's gut. And also, if baby was born via C-section, that's going to also affect things, and antibiotics are generally part of the picture there too. And if baby is formula fed, of course, but we're talking about breastfed babies, but if baby is formula fed, this is going to quickly mature and diversify the gut. And for baby gut bacteria, we want it to be very simple, mostly bifidobacteria. And so this leads us to probiotics. Probiotics are a beneficial, good bacteria that baby or adults can take. And for babies, like I said, we want to focus on bifidobacteria. And you can get a probiotic for babies that contains several species of bifidobacteria, and this is kind of the direction I would lead. I also like Lactobacillus plantarum. There's a company called Smidge, and they make a wonderful infant probiotic, and it's very pure and clean. There's no prebiotic added to it. It is just straight probiotics, and it comes in a little tiny bottle, and it lasts forever. Now, these probiotics are important because they do impact gut motility. So we want that motility to happen. And often when we just add a probiotic, if you haven't already tried a bifidobacteria-based probiotic, just doing that alone can make a big difference. Now, if you've already done probiotics and you're breastfeeding, you may want to add in an additional prebiotic. I think this is totally fine, and I've done it with success. The prebiotic for babies that I use the most is one with the GOS and beta-glucan, and this is Clear Labs Galactomune. And this is a really good prebiotic for many reasons. First and foremost, it's not plant-based, and I like that because it's not going to feed specific bacteria that may feed on those plant-based prebiotics, right? And so again, we want to keep baby's gut very, very simple and bifidobacteria dominant. And so I like the Galactomune because it has the GOS and the beta-glucan in it. And again, your breast milk already has various levels of HMOs. You can do an HMO prebiotic, but I don't really think this is necessary. I would go more the Clear Labs direction. Now, if your baby is formula fed, there's this really interesting study, which I'm going to post right here. Now, what it found was really interesting. Probiotics that contain bifidobacteria did not have the most profound effect in addition to formula. What had the most profound effect, in addition to formula, was prebiotics, GOS prebiotics, which is mind-blowing to me. Like, it literally, I was so shocked when I saw this, because you would think that probiotics, and I've suggested this for years, if you're doing formula, add in a probiotic. No, if you're doing formula, make sure it contains a prebiotic. And yes, you can add in a probiotic, a bifidobacteria-based probiotic, but make sure first and foremost that it contains a prebiotic. And if your baby is sensitive to dairy, then they may be sensitive to GOS and HMOs, which are the top two prebiotics that I would recommend. If you need to do an amino acid based formula, your baby is sensitive to dairy, there are formulas that contain FOS, which is like inulin, for example. You can also add your own prebiotic to the baby formula. Now, this would be something like Layer Origins. They have a multi-HMO prebiotic. If your baby's already consuming solids, they do have a prebiotic blend that contains inulin in it, along with GOS and HMOs. Again, all of these contain dairy or are dairy-based. There are no standards when it comes to dosage for prebiotics and adding them into the formula. So the easiest thing to do would be to purchase a formula that already contains the prebiotic. But again, if you have a favorite formula and it does not contain prebiotics, or you want to add in some HMOs, which are very beneficial for baby, in addition to feeding the bifidobacteria, it helps to work with the immune system and communicate with the immune system. So this is a good thing, and you can add in HMOs to your baby formula. You just want to dose it very, very small and keep those small doses going throughout the day with the probiotic. And again, a bifidobacteria probiotic, and you can do the Smidge, or Jarrow also has one. And they have a vegan one, a vegetarian one. They have different formulas based on whether or not your baby can tolerate dairy. Now, we're talking a lot about dairy, and that's because babies are very sensitive to dairy. That comes up in many contexts. Constipation is one of them. Reflux, eczema, allergies. Dairy is a big trigger even early on before solids are started. If your baby is sensitive to dairy, this can affect transit time, and that means either diarrhea or constipation. And this is because inflammation affects the enteric nervous system. Your enteric nervous system is in the gut. It is your second brain. Part of the inflammatory puzzle does involve prebiotics and probiotics, which we just talked about. Another part of it is nutrition. Babies are inherently in what's called a Th2 dominant state. And so this means that they already have this allergy type response going on. And you can see this when you introduce solids, for example, to your baby, or like if they touch something and they get like a little redness or a pinkness, a flush. This is because they are in this Th2 dominant state. And so when we have the right nutrients in place, this actually impacts how the immune system functions. And a brief overview of what this is are vitamins D and A, and this is D3 if it's ideal to supplement with vitamin D, by the way. So vitamin D, vitamin A, iron, zinc, and also fatty acids, and specifically DHA. These are key for avoiding allergies and eczema and for promoting a healthy immune response in baby. We want to make sure mom has these nutrients during pregnancy and if breastfeeding, and we want to make sure baby gets these nutrients as well, especially when starting solids. And I do have a class on starting solids if you want to check that out, and it goes in depth into all of this. And so I'm going to kind of close with some images of baby poop, because I think this is really important to talk about. What we're going to look at first is kind of what went into developing the infant stool scale to where it's currently at. We have volume, consistency. So the volume is how much is in the diaper. There's consistency, meaning is it thick and hard, true constipation, or is it really watery? That's very common too. And then the other thing that we're going to look at is color. Color can be brown, it can be black, it can be yellow, it can be green. There may be some redness, it can be very pale. The red would be the blood in the mucus, and the mucus kind of looks like egg whites. Now I'm going to show another picture here. Part of working with me is a lot of parents will send me baby poop photos. These are all from papers, okay? But I think it's really interesting to see these photos, and this is not constipation, this is just breastfed infant stool. And you can see how there's so much mucus in the stool. It's actually quite like normal and healthy to have like a substantial amount of mucus. What we don't want to see is blood with the mucus. Having mucus in the stool is not necessarily a red flag. What we want to do is look at the whole picture and how baby is doing overall. Mucus in stool can be a red flag. Sometimes it's just kind of where your baby's at, and it's a transitionary phase. And with these photos in general, the mucus was highest from 2 months old until around 5 months old. So during that time period is when parents saw a lot of mucus in breastfed babies. This is another photo, and it shows, true constipation all the way down to watery stool. And again, we're thinking about, true constipation is those rock hard solid stools. It's very much something that we want to address ASAP, especially from a Chinese medicine perspective, because babies already have like an abundance of heat and yang energy, it's called. And so when there's constipation, there's actually a buildup of heat in the body. And so we want to kind of relieve that. And we want to see transit time happening, pretty regularly. And those hard, dry stools are a sign that things are not moving. Now, if your baby does not have a movement, but their stools are loose or watery, then from a Chinese medicine perspective, this means that there may be more of a deficiency happening. And so we would want to actually warm the body up. Instead of removing heat, we want to add warmth. And in terms of, deciding which herbs are best for baby and constipation or diarrhea or whatever may be happening with their gut, I would work with a TCM practitioner. You can always reach out to me, or you can find somebody locally as well that works with children. If you feel overwhelmed or you're not quite sure, where to go, I hope this is helpful. I hope this makes it feel really approachable. This is so basic, and sometimes we get caught up in doing all the things, or maybe there's not enough support to where in the way that we need it, and we just don't know our options. And if your baby has constipation, start with the fundamentals. Start with a prebiotic, start with a probiotic. These are really actually quite important and make a huge difference. And when it comes to a probiotic and a prebiotic in baby's gut health in general, before 6 months, we're not only just talking about like constipation, we're also talking about their immune development. And this sets a trajectory for a lifetime of health, no pressure, but that's what's going on. We want to dial this in, as soon as possible, because the window is so tight, and it does make a big difference. The sooner you can kind of manage the situation, especially when it comes to gut and immune development, the better. So I hope this is helpful. Definitely leave any comments if you have questions, because the most important thing I think for parents and what's really special about these online spaces like YouTube or whatever it may be is that there is a community there, and that can just take place by people asking questions and the response. And I will see you next time. Bye.